Olympus, you had a horrible realization today. The Defiant Blueprints weren't actually free, and you have to go do solo armadas now. Yes, there is a restriction, like in addition to being level, and ops locked once you get the ship in terms of how well you can upgrade it, getting the ship is also sort of a bit of a problem. And people say, oh yeah, you can get the Defiant in 100 days once you get to the right reputation level. Well, that's if you can also get the diplomacy tokens. And since the diplomacy tokens only come from the uncommon loot boxes, and since you can't get the rares until you get to Ops 40, like how many diplomacy tokens can you really get? I think it's a lot longer than 100 days. If you're under Ops, if you're between 35 and 39, you know what? Let's do the math. This'll be fun, won't it? This'll be fun. So, where's my other account? How long will it really take to get the Defiant if you are not Ops 40? Because if you're not Ops 40, your uncommon box does not contain rare Armada directives, which means you can only get the uncommon box, and that's the only place that you have to get diplomacy tokens. Because I don't have the Defiant box, wherever that is. Defiant Amplified Claim. The I don't own a Defiant box gives you badges and credits, which doesn't do anything for you in terms of getting the Defiant. It gives you more badges, so you can do more exchanges for this stuff, and it gives you more credits, but there's no way to convert credits into diplomacy tokens. Break out the abacus. I'll maybe have one of those slide rulers like they used to use in NASA. So, I hit militia on this account this morning. I got my first Defiant Blueprint. I was all excited. And then I realized that's probably the only Defiant Blueprint I'm going to be getting for quite a while. Because my uncommon loot exchange box pays me out 45 diplomacy tokens. We're going to do it in Excel, because I like Excel. Excel's fun. Okay. So, I get 45 diplomacy tokens every 2 days. I can claim this chest once every 2 days. So if I can get enough to do this every 2 days, I get 45. Well, the Defiant costs 55 tokens. And I need 100, so that's what, 5,500? Alright, so we've got 5,500 to get the Defiant. So this has to equal 5,500 divided by 45. That's 122 turn-ins, which I can do every 2 days. So it's going to be that times that. Every 200, it will take me 245 days at Ops 35 to get the Defiant. That is, what, 8 months? So yeah, this 100 days thing, a little misleading, a little bit of bullshit. And there's the evidence right there on the screen. If it's a little small for you, let's go ahead and zoom in there so everybody can see. You get 45 tokens a day per chest. You can claim a chest every 2 days. That would take you 122 days, 122 turn-ins to get the 5,500 tokens you need for the Defiant. And since you can only do a turn-in every 2 days, it will take you 244 days to acquire it. Oh, 244 and a half. Well, 245 because you have to round up, right? So, yeah, 8 months. If you're trying to get the ship 100% for free. Now, We know we'll get a couple of blueprints from some missions. 3. So actually, we can make this. If you do the missions, you can subtract 150 or so from this total. But still. And then, oh, that's way too small. That's going to throw me off all day when I try and use Excel again. Defiant is trash. Don't buy it. Still going to be faster than getting the ISS jelly. For sure, for sure. Thank you, Bot Query, for the follow there. Carcoon says he gets 45 diplomacy tokens at Ops 39 still, right? You're still getting, it's the same conversion in your uncommon loot box. The box doesn't change, I don't think, until you get to Ops 40, right? Yeah, so anyone between 35 and 39, it's going to take you 8 months to get the ship. So even though it is available for lower level players, it's really not all that accessible for them. And they're the ones who probably benefit from the most, because then they wouldn't have to, build a D4 or something similar to that for, if they already have an Enterprise or an Augur or something like that, and they're thinking about what other ship do they want that would help them with their solo armadas. Well, having a Defiant to use in place of a D4, so you're not competing for resources and things, would be beneficial. And for $100, you can get that benefit. But if you're looking at a free-to-play grind path and you're under Ops 40, it's about 8 months. So, and you're right, Ops 35 players aren't going to camp at 35 for 244 days, Ace. But as we saw, all the way up to 39, it's the same. So if it takes you 8 months, I don't know how, you can progress from 35 to 39. But even if you're camping at 39, because you want to save up before you can make the jump into the 40s, make sure you catch up on some stuff and kind of move quickly through 40 and 40 into 41. So you actually start getting uncommon materials. Even then, you're not going to, it's still going to be a little while. So, yeah, there's a path. But when they tell you, oh yeah, you can get the Defiant in 100 days, that's not really accurate. And then of course it comes back to, well, you could just buy a pack that has the tokens in it. Like, we could also just buy the Defiant. It's actually cheaper than buying the pack. The current pack, if it shows it to me, we'll see. Like, you could just buy the Defiant for $100 and be done with it. The Bajoran faction pack here gives you 1450, so that's like a third, not even 28, it's a quarter of the Defiant. So if you were just doing these diplomacy tokens to get the Defiant, and you'd have to buy 4 of these, you get other stuff with it. You get lots of Bajoran credits that you can use for favors and things too. So obviously there's extra value there. But if the ship is what you are primarily after, just spend the $100 and buy the ship. Or wait 8 months and enjoy it next summer. Duval says if you're a 45 plus player, the Defiant doesn't do any better than a Cerrito. Very true. In that range, again, depending also how much you invest in it, people were expecting that they were going to come in and they're like tier 3 Defiant, which is going to be like, oh yeah, this is just my new Armada ship. It's not. And, it's ops locked, so you're restricted to it. But if you get it up to, if you're in your mid 40s, you can get up to tier 5, tier 6. It might replace your Jellyfish or your G3 Epic that you were using in that third slot. You've got your Valdor, or you've got your Pilum Valdor and something else. Whatever that something else was, maybe the Defiant, once it's tiered up reasonably to 5 or 6, takes over that third slot and then gives you the extra benefit of the materials that it pays out, the extra edicts, so you can get more of the loot chests that way. but it's not going to be your number one ship by far. That's not what the ship is. That's not what it's going to do. Um, maybe it's competing for your third slot. It's kind of, I think, when we did our analysis, that's kind of where we thought it was going to be. Is that maybe it's worth rotating in that slot, but it's also going to take a while to upgrade it unless you're also buying the packs to do it. So it's going to take a little while to get there as well.